everybody, Adam Rogers here yet again with another handy video to teach you how to bend conduit. First thing we're going to go through all the tools that are pretty much necessary to make things happen. Number one, your hand/foot bender. Can't bend pipe by hand without one. Number two, cutting device. I prefer the bandsaw, but there's other products available like a hacksaw, or if you want to use the Armstrong method, you can use your hacksaw. Everything works. This is just the quickest, most efficient, cleanest cuts you can get. When you make a cut, you're going to want to use your conduit reamer. This is going to serve two purposes. It's got a flathead screwdriver. It's got a little hood over it so you won't be slipping off. Just you hit the head. Bam, there you go. It also has three different levels for reaming your conduit out: 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. A good level. Don't go buy a dollar store level. Don't go buy a Mastercraft piece of crap. Get yourself a Milwaukee or a Klein or a Greenlee, some really good level. Because you want strong magnets so it doesn't fall and get all out of whack. Tape measure. You can't do anything without a tape measure. Self-explanatory. Impact drill. I think most people have one. If you don't, you can get away with your screwdriver, but this makes things quicker and easier. Not everybody's going to have one of these laser levels, but if you don't have one, they're about $150 to $200. You should try and pick one up. They make your life so much easier, as I'll be able to demonstrate in this video. Some of the hardware we're going to be using: basic 3/4 connector. As you can see, got some boxes set up, connectors are all in. Couplings. Couplings are for amateurs who can't bend pipe. Hopefully at the end of this video you will have learned enough that you don't need to use a coupling unless you're going longer than 10 feet with your conduit. 1-hole straps. You can get 2-hole straps, but pretty much we use 1-hole because they're quick, they're easy, and it's less materials to use. And of course you'll need some screws to hold on your boxes and 1-hole straps. Now, important tips when you're using your bender. A lot of people will try and stand it up against the wall like this. What happens when you knock it? It falls over, you can damage the head of the bender, or just bend it. It's no good. Store your bender, lean it against the wall with your bending shoe on the floor. It just helps to avoid damage. If it does fall, the worst is going to happen. The handle's going to clatter on the floor. Alright, safety tip time. Whenever you're doing any cutting with your conduits, you're going to want to wear your safety glasses. I mean, it's a good idea to wear them all the time anyway because you got one pair of eyes, keep them protected. If you lose them, they're gone forever. Gloves. I like to think of gloves as optional, basically because I'm not 10-ply. But, you know, a lot of people like to wear them. They like to have very smooth, soft hands. Nothing wrong with that. It's probably a good idea. Work boots, of course. Always, you wouldn't go to a job site without your work boots. And finally, if you're in a commercial setting and you're working, or if you're, just want to wear it anywhere you go, hard hat. But definitely in commercial settings and industrial settings, you need them. It's just required. Some common things to avoid when you're bending a conduit is not using your bender properly. When you put your mark on your pipe and you get all set to go, what you're supposed to do is keep constant foot pressure on the foot pedal and pull with your handle only. I've seen people just kind of get it started and then they come back here and they try and reef on it. Well, how effective does that look? Does that even look like a good 90? Not even close. So don't do that. We're going to cut that off with my trusty bandsaw here. This is one of those instances where you might want to wear some gloves. Definitely have your safety glasses on. And we'll introduce you to the reaming tool. you don't have one, they're about 30 bucks at Home Depot. You just put it in, and if you look real close, you can see how this little tittle here surrounds your pipe. And you just spin it around a few times. It gives you a nice smooth end, almost like a factory cut. So, the proper way to bend a 90, like I said, good foot pressure on here, pulling on your handle while applying your body weight. Slow, deliberate bend. Okay, put your level on there, and right in the lines. So you're done. You got your 90. Now, a pro tip, which we're not set up to do right now, but if you can find a door frame should be one of the most level 90-degree things in the entire building that you're in. So we'll just pretend this is a door frame, and you would just fit your 90 into there, having one side against the side edge of the door, and your top obviously against the header. And if it looks perfectly square in there, then you know you got a perfectly square 90. Okay, so I've set up a little, we'll call it a pipe bending obstacle course here. And I'm gonna walk you through some of the various bends that we typically do, and some we don't typically do, but I find quite useful. So we're gonna use our laser level. The first one we're gonna do, we're gonna run from this connector here down into here. So we're gonna need to make a box offset, and then we're gonna do a short 90. And because there's not gonna be enough room for a box offset on this end at the end of the 90, we're gonna make it a slight kick on the 90. So we'll show you how to do all of that. So the first thing, we need to figure out our distance for our pipe. So I'm gonna set up my laser level here. So we'll set that right up. So it's just on the back edge of the coupling. And now we get our measuring tape out. And I can see that I am 25 1/4 inches to the back of my 90. So for our actual bending, we just moved over to this location here. A lot more room. We're not going to be hitting anything with our pipe because it's a 10-foot thick pipe. And don't want to hit lights or anything with it. So we're going to do our box offset first. These are very difficult to explain, but they're so simple to do. There's no real actual measurement for it. You just got to get your pipe in, put it to the front of the shoe so it's flush here. And then we're just going to give it a little bit of pressure so you see the pipe move. And that'll be the first bend. Advance your pipe in the bender, flip it 180 degrees. Line it up, make sure it's still straight. And then you're going to apply the same amount of pressure that you did before. And what you're left with, you can see, there's a little rise in the pipe here. So when it goes on the wall, this is sit on the wall, and this will come out to meet your coupling, or your connector. So, second part, we're going to bend our actual 90. Now our measurement was 25 1/4. So we're going to mark that on our pipe. Going over the pipe. 25 1/4. Okay. Now, so when you're bending 3/4 conduit with a hand bender, you have to remember to get down 6 inches. Because what you want, this is going to be the back of your 90. And when you mark 6 inches from that, that's how much pipe it takes to actually bend your 90. So now we've got our pipe orientated properly because we want to swing our 90 downwards. So you have to have your offset out to the left. We're going to flip our bender over so we can bend it on the floor. And if you take note right here, there's another arrow on the side of the bender which correlates to your line here. So again, with proper foot pressure, putting most of your weight on it, and just pulling slowly and deliberately on the handle. I like to use my hand as a guide here, but I'm not actually pulling on the pipe when I do that. It just keeps it steady. There we are. We've got a perfectly level 90. So we're back over here, and we're going to install our first pipe in the obstacle course here. I've set up the laser because I like to use a laser. It's super accurate. So all I've got to do is say I got 15 1/8 inches is how long I need to make this pipe. If you don't have a laser, what you can do, you know the floor is supposed to be pretty level. So you got a measurement of 31, well 32. Will put you perfectly in the coupling here. And you get your measurement here, which is 46 7/8 to the top of the coupling. So you can just do some math and figure out exactly how tall that's got to be. But I don't like math. So I like to just do this and say I need that to be 15 1/8. So much easier. Having the right tools can speed your job up quite a bit. So grab our pipe, stand it up, we'll measure 15 1/8, and that's where we are going to cut our pipe. And again, we get our reamer. You can see little chunks of stuff flying off. That's little metal shards and things that can cut you or nick your wires as you're pulling through. So you're saying, okay, we got this on the wall and we made our offset, but now this one is perfectly straight on the wall and it doesn't offset out to the box. Well, we got a solution for that too. It's called kicking your 90. And we're going to put it into our bender, which I have right here. And you see how we've already got this line on here from where we made our 90. This time, we'll put that right at the front of the bender itself. And we level it up using our eye, which isn't easy at first, but you will develop that eventually. And we're just going to give it a little kick. Okay, so now we've made our new piece. We've got our kick and our offset. I'm going to put this coupling on the end of it. We'll just kind of tighten it a little bit using the flat tip of our reamer. We'll put one end over here. And this will go here. We'll reinstall our lock ring. And you want to make sure that you always tighten your set screws at both ends. So if you get an aerial view down here, you'll see that we're off the wall for our box offset. And then we are tight against the wall here. And then we kick out and come down nice and straight into our box. So you got this installed. You can't just leave it, it'll flop around a little bit. So we're going to use our one-hole straps. Just slip it on. Now you're nice and steady. Now, there's a common misconception in our industry with the spacing for your strap supports. Now, when you're using 3/4 pipe, you need to have a strap every 5 feet for support. People think that you need to be supported within 12 inches of your box. That is the rule for BX. In our code book, it says you need to have a support within 1 meter of your box. Now, a stick of pipe is 10 feet long. So typically what I will do is I will measure in 30 inches and I'll put a little line on my pipe, and then I'll measure from the other end 30 inches, put a line there. That's where I'll put my supports, because you got 30, 60, 30. 60 inches is 5 feet. I got 2 supports on my pipe and it's equal spacing. Works very well every time. When you've just got a short piece like this, you got a full meter from either one of these boxes to support it. Doesn't really matter, wherever it's going to look best and fit best. So we'll get started on our second bend. Just got to see this one. We are going to do an offset. We're going to be connecting from here into here, and we'll talk a little bit about the different bends you can do, the degree bends with your bender. If you look here on the bender, we have lines, 10 degrees, 22 degrees, 30 degrees, 45, 60, and of course if you're flat here, you've got a 90. So there's also multipliers that go along with these special numbers. The 2 most important ones to remember: 45 degrees, you got a multiplier of 1.4. And the one most electricians use, because it's the easiest, is 30 degrees, where you multiply the distance you need to move by 2. Easy math. 30 degrees times 2. So for this next bend, 30 degree offset, I've set up my laser level because that's just how I roll. I like to do it the easy way. So you're going to measure from the bottom of one connector to the top of another. And when we zoom in here, you'll see that we've got 7 inches. Now, 30 degrees, we use double the distance. So I'm going to make my marks 14 inches apart on my pipe. Okay, so when we're doing our offsets, I like to keep one offset as close to the box as I can get it. And with the distance from the end of the pipe to the actual bend line that we use on the top of the bender for our offsets, we need just a little under 4 inches. So to keep things easy to remember, we're going to make our first mark at 4 inches. And we said we need to do a 7-inch offset, 30 degree bend. We double that. 14, so 14 inches from our first mark to our second mark. Now we'll bring those right around the pipe. And then we will fit it in the bender. Now, when I get it lined up perfectly on here, if you look at the end of the pipe, it's just sticking out a little bit from the front of the shoe here, which is perfect. So we're going to apply steady pressure downwards. You can use your whole body too. It doesn't have to just be arms. So what we want to do when we're bending, we want the pipe to sit parallel to the mark here. The misconception is that you need your pipe to come down and actually touch the point of this line. No, you just want it to be parallel. So next step, slide it forward in the shoe. Line up with your mark. Give your pipe a 180 degree turn. Look down the pipe like this to make sure that your offset that you've got, the first part, is sticking straight, and that will avoid having any dog legs in your pipe. And now you apply your pressure again until you are parallel with your 30 degrees. And then we're going to put it on the floor, get a level on it, and measure it, and make sure we've got the right height. So we've got our 30 degree offset. We're just going to throw our tape measure down here and make sure that we've got 7 inches to the top of the pipe that we need for our box. 7 inches to the top. Now I've already gone over there and measured, and I need 20 inches between the boxes. So we're going to stand this up. And what we're going to do, because these boxes are pre-installed, so we're going to do what's called cheating the coupling, or cheating the connector. So I need 20 inches. I'm going to give it like a quarter less, so 19 3/4. And that'll give us that little bit of room we're going to need. Just need our connector in there. So we're going to cut that, and we'll go put it in place. All right, so we installed our offset piece. You can see, looks pretty good in there. Third bend we're going to do, it's a little bit more complicated, and that's why we did these ones first. We're going to do a stub 90, which is the shortest 90 you can do to get around this screw. It's going to come across, and oh no, we got a pipe in the way. What are we going to do? I'm going to teach you how to do a 3-point saddle to get over that. And right after our 3-point saddle, we're going to do another 90 and come up into this box right here. Okay, now that we got our route planned out, stub 90, 3-point saddle, and another 90 up into that box. Let's grab our pipe, I'll show you how to do a stub 90. So when you're bending a stub 90, basically the shortest 90 you can bend, which means you're going to want to have the part of your pipe flush with your front of your shoe here. And then you just come and you apply your foot pressure. And you bend yourself a nice little 90 here. So we've bent the 90. Now we need to know where our obstruction is that's in the way. So I've already set up my laser level, and I can see at the center of this pipe, 27¼ inches away. So that's where we're going to put our first line when we mark this out. We're going to change locations again to give me a little bit more room. Okay, so 27¼ that's where we will make our mark. We're going to have to make 3 separate marks on this. So this is the first most important one, which is the center of your obstruction. So we'll ring that. Now, whenever I'm bending 3-point saddles, depending on what size of pipe I'm using, I'll use the same as my uptake measurement, which when you're bending 90s, you need to measure back your 6 inches on a 3/4 pipe. So I'll do the same here. I'll use 6-inch spacing. On 1/2-inch pipe, it's a 5-inch uptake, 8 inches for a 1-inch EOT. So I'm going to mark 6 inches on either side of my center mark, and we'll bring those around as well. And then we're going to set up the bender. Now, the bender, you need these bends to be equal. So we're going to bend, the easiest thing to remember, first one at 15 degrees, the second one we'll flip the pipe over, bend it at 30 degrees, then we'll flip the pipe over again, and we're going to bend the third one at 15 degrees. And that should give us a nice little hump that will clear that obstacle. Okay, so like I said with our first bend, we're going to do 15 degrees. Advance our pipe, we're using the top line just like before. We're going to look down and make sure our pipe is straight and flat. Then we're going to do this one at 30 degrees. Advance our pipe one more time. Again, line up, make sure we're straight. Flat. And then 15 degrees again. So once you've got your bend put in, you're going to want to take a look straight down your pipe and make sure that both ends of the conduit are still in a nice straight line. And you're going to take a look at the hump you created and make sure that that is perfectly straight as well. And now it's time to go take some more measurements for the other side of our 90. So I measured and bent where my 90 needs to be, and now I'm just putting my little box offset on the end, so we slip right into the box on both sides. Alright, so we've done all our measurements. This should fit in perfectly. Look at that. See how we've got our line pretty much off the center of our pipe. It's a little bit off, but that's because not everything comes out perfect every time. Tighten up our connectors. Now let's talk a little bit about supporting this bad boy. We're going to want to support on this side of our 3-point saddle, and we're going to want something holding it down right here. So we'll grab 2 of those 1-hole straps. We've already got 1 strap on the wall, so let's make sure our straps line up nicely. Another thing to consider when you're using straps, always point them in the same direction. If you got this one pointing down, don't point this one up, unless you absolutely don't have any room. Now we are within our code requirements. We're supported, and we should have just under 5 feet between these 2 supports. 29 inches and 24 inches. So we are to code with our supports. Okay, now this last bend we're going to show you how to do today. I think I might have patented it myself. It is the 4-point saddle 90-degree bend, which basically means we're going to do a 4-point saddle to pop up to be above this pipe, and we're going to have to 90 as well, and then we're going to kick back down onto the wall to come into this box. Sounds really complicated, and it is. So the first thing we're going to do is get our measurement to the back of the box, or to the back of the 90. We're at 19 and a half. So we're going to start there. We got our measurement. First thing we're going to do is bend our 90 into here, which you've seen. Just go through this wheel. Now essentially what we're going to do is put an offset here and an offset here. So, do some measuring. And go as close to the 90 as we can, which will be 6 inches. And then we're going to want to be 6 inches away again. Because it's easy to remember, you're using 3/4 pipe, just make every measurement 6 inches when it comes to bending. Unless you're doing a larger offset, which you use your 30 degrees and double your distance. Okay, so we got this side marked out. We're going to do a little offset on the floor. And then we're going to flip our pipe over after moving our sheet back. Make sure we're lined up on our marks. Okay, so we got the first part of our offset done on the other side of the 90. We're going to do it again over here. Show you the first way I bent it on the floor. This one I'm going to bend in the air. And there we are. Now, put this down on. And you can see we've got a 90 with offset here and an offset here. Very useful for a tight situation like this. So I did some off-camera cut measurements and cutting, and we're going to fit this bad boy right in here. And we left ourselves a spot right here to put in our support, which I will do. And that is the intricacies of pipe bending here at Power-Tek Group. Hope you learn how to do a lot of new fancy stuff, and everybody make sure to work safe.